Hello and welcome to the Garden of the Black Roses. This is my second book, in my original writing. Second book of the Adventures of the Iron Wolves, book 2, beta. This book's not finished, so I think it's like 9 or 10 chapters I have completed. I think. I'll have to go through as I record. I'll have to go through and check to make sure that what I'm reading is completed. But yeah, this book is almost completed, but it's not fully completed. Yeah. But yeah, this recording will have the intro in chapter 1. And then I'll do chapters after that. So, let's get into it. Intro. Hi everyone, Marielle here. So you all read Iron Wolves Alpha yet? If not, you really should go back and read it, because there are many revelations there that are, well, revealed in the previous book. What's that? What am I doing here then, you ask? Good question. My traitorous self was killed in the previous book, and I decided to set about doing more good in the world. So here I am. I'm going to recap and update you before you proceed to join Anima and Styx in their world again. In the previous book, you learnt about the structure and circumstances regarding the Iron Wolves. People are revealed, and you come face to face with Anima's capture. She got into trouble an awful lot in the last book, didn't she? Anyway, Styx comes to the rescue and manages to insult Anima in the process. Twice. Anima sends him on the night challenge to prove he's worthy enough to marry her, and to get back at him for insulting her, but that's supposed to be a secret between me and her, so pretend I said nothing, okay? He first rescues me, and then later, when he goes to rescue Miyako, I kissed him. Which ends badly, because I raped him too. And well, if you read the previous book, you'll know what happened to me after that. Anyway, Anima was happy that he dealt with his issues regarding me and rescued Miyako. He was finally sent to rescue Chie, one of Anima's other personal guards from Lunarius. She gets a visit from Shiro, who attempts to control her with a red collar. Styx finally receives the confirmation tattoos that deem him the official king of elves, and passes out, only to be captured by King Akira's soldiers. Unfortunately, my love Shiro had to die before Styx could get his confirmation tattoos, but that's how things go. After hiccups, fights, and problems, Styx and Anima finally are connected by the twin fate rings, and Anima's father had given to Styx. While not officially married, Anima rescues him from the dungeons of Nakura Castle and frees Chie in the process. They all return to the Iron Wolves territory, where Styx and Anima are officially married to each other. Seems like everything was wrapped up, right? I don't know about you, but many of my questions still remained. Like, what happened to Sakonia after Shiro's death? What happened with King Copra and his war against the Iron Wolves? Why is Prince Oslo of Kulatish sending rumors about the Iron Wolves? What about the things in the Elven realm? Will that break free into the human world? I don't know what adventure you're going to be launched into this time, but either way, you know it's going to be good. Until next time, Marielle. Chapter 1. War-torn country. War. Even within the world of Rise, war is no stranger to its inhabitants. But to those like the Iron Wolves, war meant the difference between living with an existence or disappearing into nothingness. War for the Iron Wolves could come from all sides. In this case, war pushed at them from 3 separate countries: Solaris, Zirconia, and Kulatish. Anima sat waiting quietly on her bed, the small bunny sitting in her lap, and her kitten, whom had almost become like her second shadow since her journey to Nakuro, nestled at her side, keeping a silent vigil with her. Worry emanated from her to permeate the air. She knew Stykes would be coming home tonight before leaving again in the morning. She flopped onto her back before the weight in her belly made her roll onto her side. A small sound drifted over to her from the window, causing her to smile. "You're late home." Her voice was soft, but not faint to his ears. "I was beginning to wonder if you'd ever come home tonight, even though you promised me you'd come home every full moon." He pattered lightly across the room and sat on her bed. She could feel him shift behind her before turning to crawl up and lean over her. Curling his hand around her body, he touched her belly with a flat hand. "Aruna tells me you're due soon. I'll need to get this war over before then." "Can you really make it end that quickly?" Anima's skepticism was clear in both her voice and emotions. "If you can, then why didn't you end it long before now?" Stykes sighed and ruffled her hair. She pushed his arm away, annoyed. "I'm serious! If you could end this war that quickly, then why didn't you already?" "I can't rush things just because I feel like it," Stykes replied, rolling over onto his back. "Sometimes you need to take the long way around because it contains more benefits than the short way." He watched Anima roll over to face him. "However, this war has now gone on for too long, and the benefits of cutting this short outweigh the original benefits of taking the long way." Anima sat up with a slight smile. "So you want that weapon that Hannah and I created last year?" Stykes knew that smile so well that he caught himself giving her the exact same smile. "I had Hannah teach every alchemist who was proficient in chemical law to learn how to create that weapon." "I knew you would do that without telling me," Stykes replied calmly. "So I ordered every alchemist who were proficient in either or both chemical and herb law to report to Chorus in Dita village in the morning." "Herb law?" Anima asked quizzically. "Why do you need herbalists there? The weapon is chemical based. A herbalist would have no idea what to do and blow everything up." Her comment triggered Stykes' deep laugh. "It's true, though. A herbalist would blow things up with chemicals just like a chemist would poison people with concoctions made from herbs." "Simply," Stykes replied with a very soft, soothing voice, "I need more healers. Aruna and Ishmael's healers, priests and acolytes, are overloaded with the injured. I need herbalists to fill the gaps and provide relief while they're waiting for a proper healing from them." He pulled her close with a smile. "Nothing to worry about. Get some sleep now." "I always seem to be sleeping," Anima murmured. "It's like I'm hibernating. I'm not a bear in winter." Stykes stroked her hair gently and soothed her to sleep. "You better prepare for Hawkeye's anger in the morning." Early the next morning, Kuros watched Stykes pace in front of the alchemists that have gathered. Among them, Hannah and Gabriel stood towards the front. Standing in front of them, he began his address. "This war has gone on long enough." A cheer from the alchemists rose suddenly. Sykes' back tickled, giving him the sign that Anima was now awake. He continued on. Tonight, we will stop this war with our enemies fleeing in fear. Tonight, we will send this message. We are here to stay. He waited until the now deafening roar died down. I will divide you all into 4 groups according to your skill level. 3 will go to the battlefield, and the 4th one will remain here as backup. While Sykes continued, Hannah leaned over to her mother. Anima is due soon. It's probably why he's fired up to end it all tonight. Gabriel nodded and gave Sykes a small smile when he shot them a sharp glance. Hannah grinned and whispered, I need to tell you a secret later that Anima told me. She said I can tell you, but no one else. Nothing you can say within his sharp hearing range? Gabriel whispered back as she stood to move over to join the herbalists. Hannah nodded and waited in her seat. Then I'll come by your room with some currant buns this afternoon. Sykes stepped down from the platform to join Hannah. On his left, herbalists were arranged in their self-appointed ranks. On his right, chemists moved themselves into their study groups. Sykes narrowed his eyes at Hannah and murmured, Where should I put you? Right where you can see me, Hannah replied with a smile. I already have my orders from Anima to watch over you. Nothing you can say will make me leave your side. She pulled a small vial filled with transparent white liquid from her pouch and shook it. I can follow you even if you fly. Sykes sighed and set to work on dividing his alchemists into the groups he needed. Hannah laughed as her mother tore a hot currant bun in half. Sykes was upset that Anima had told me not to leave his side all afternoon, but I'm sure he got used to me after I deflected arrows from his wings. That aside, Gabriel leaned forward with a sly smile on her face. What is this secret you couldn't say in front of Sykes? Hold on. Hannah stepped over to her work table and picked out a dark orange vial. I don't want anyone listening in. She threw the vial onto the ground hard. Soft orange light flooded the room, leaving no surface untouched. Anima taught me this one. She said that the darker the potion, the harder it is for someone to break into it. I've only successfully been able to create orange. Overly cautious? Gabriel asked as she watched her daughter settle again in her chair. Noticing the worried expression on Hannah's face, she added, Something you're going to ask my advice on also. Anima says there's 2 in her. Hannah started quietly. It's a feeling she has. She knows that they'll be born tonight, well before the end of the war. Hannah closed her eyes, not looking at her mother. She wants both of us present when they come. Me, to use her potions to create barriers, and you, as healer and midwife. She doesn't want Sykes there? Gabriel asked, concerned. Or is there something else she said to you? Not said exactly. Hannah hesitated. It's just... She swallowed hard. She was teaching me a prophecy potion, and she was explaining that created wrongly it could show someone's past, rather than their future. She threw it into the fire and... Hannah's voice quivered like jelly. I'm sure it was a scene from her past. Gabriel moved her chair until she came close enough to bring her arms around Hannah. What happened? She pet Hannah's hair gently. What did you see? Hannah leaned against her mother. Tears slowly trailed down her face as she spoke. In the fire, we saw a child in white, blood-stained robes. She had 4 angelic-style, black-feathered wings. Anima and I watched as she ran through the forest into a small clearing where a woman laid covered in blood, her own wings torn and broken at her sides. Hannah covered her ears. In her head, the child's screams were still fresh. The child tried to wake the woman, but a man stepped into view and grabbed the child by the wings. Gabriel's eyes widened in shock. Black feathered wings? Mother? Hannah glanced at Gabriel with curiosity on her face. What's wrong? She gave her mother a little shake. Mother? Gabriel shook her head and smiled. Black feathered wings are the mark of a clan of fallen angels who were charged to look after hell. It can't possibly be Anima's past because she's human. Humans don't sprout wings, Hannah said quietly. It had become common knowledge that Anima sprouted the wings whenever she tapped into Rosiel's power. Don't tell me that's because of Rosiel. Elf royalty don't possess actual wings, just magical ones that are summoned through their elf blood in their daggers. Gabriel thought carefully. Did the child have blue hair? Hannah shook her head. Then there you go, it can't be Anima because she has blue hair. It was too dark to see what colour the child had, Hannah pointed out quietly. If it wasn't Anima, then how did she produce that image? She brushed it off with a laugh, saying that it was not all futures are 100% accurate, but it does make me wonder. She looked at her mother with wide eyes. I'm sure that the image was the reason she was asked for. I'm sure the image was the reason she has asked for just us to be present. Gabriel nodded. That does make sense. Fallen angels are the enemy of all other races. If one of her children is a fallen angel, she needs to protect it until she can get word to Styx. She gave Hannah a hug and laughed. Don't worry about it. If it is Anima's past, it doesn't seem to affect her now. If it's the future of one of her children, then she'll know how to stop it. Hannah nodded slowly. If it's Anima's future, then the woman on the ground is her. She shut her eyes, but the voice of the child rang loud in her head. Mama? Mama? Wake up! They're coming again! Mama! Styx stood with his back to his army on the outskirts of Hasta village. His jacket flapped in the breeze like a white banner across the dark sky. His presence alone instilling courage in his allies. Drawing his katana, he raised it up to the skyline. The army of Solaris stood just visible to the naked eye. At their fore stood their king in gold-plated armor. Styx lowered his katana and yelled, Charge! A similar cry could be heard in the distance from the golden figure. The armies of both Solaris and the Iron Wolves ran forward to meet each other violently in the middle, like an avalanche meeting the ground. Styx ran with them, cutting down enemies in his wake. His mind focused on one task. Kill Copra. As if granting his wish, the fighting shifted, creating a small clearing. Within it stood who he sought, suited in the best gold-plated armor his treasury could afford. Styx paused with a smile on his face and his katana ready in his hand. "You made a big mistake coming out onto the battlefield," Copra said quietly, his voice clear to Styx's ears. "I'll be sure to leave enough of your body to be identified by your endearing wife." Styx growled angrily and tightened his grip on his katana. "Come at me if you can." Styx's wings burst forth to thrust him forward towards Copra, his katana bearing down on Copra's jeweled broadsword. They stared at each other intently. Neither wanted to be first to disengage. Disengagement meant instant death at the hands of his opponent. Styx's eyes darkened. His pain began to lance through his body. He cried out, pulling back fast away from Copra's oncoming blade. It intensified, creeping up from his abdomen up to his heart, and radiating outwards to envelop his body. In his pained haze, he looked up to see Copra's sword coming close to his head. "Styx!" The sound of metal rang loudly in his ears. Ash-coloured wings blocked his vision of Copra. "Get a hold of yourself!" White light surrounded Styx, and 2 pairs of hands lifted him up. "Get him to safety, Miyako." Miyako nodded and waited until Chie hopped up onto her back to keep Styx in place before she left the clearing to fight her way towards Hasta village. "What's going on? It's not like you to break from a fight so suddenly." "Anima," Styx whispered through the pain. "Something is happening to Anima. This pain." The pain intensified, pushing Styx to his limit. "This pain is torturous." Raising his hand, he called Veritas to him. "Go find out what is going on. This pain is too much for one who should be sleeping." Shutting his eyes, he watched Veritas fly to the Tower of Wings. Already he could see the green like glass in the windows. "She's put up a barrier, Master." Veritas alighted onto the windowsill and pecked the window hard. Hands drew her inside carefully. Styx stiffened at the sight. Anima laid motionless on the bed. Blood thoroughly stained the sheets red, her laboured breathing the only indication that she was still alive. Veritas moved her head to look up at who was holding her. "It's all right, Styx," Hannah said quietly. She stepped over to her mother and placed Veritas on her shoulder. Veritas watched Hannah move away to look after Anima before looking down at what was before Gabriel. 2 babies laid asleep next to each other in the basket. Styx smiled, longing to touch them. "Styx," he heard Gabriel say softly, "we have a problem." She picked up one of the babies. Unwrapping it gently, she turned the baby over to show Veritas its back. A bruise, similar to Anima's, was lightly traced on its back. "You didn't tell us Anima was a fallen angel. This is going to cause a lot of problems." Styx paced his study room worriedly. Nowhere in Anima's memories did she show that she was anything but human. He glanced at the bassinet where the twins nestled safely in. Walking over, he gently touched their faces. They were similar in every way except for their gender. The female, he knew, had to be named Rosiel, had the pointed ears of an elf. He touched the male's cheek gently. He had the human-styled ears and features. Styx wondered how this child became a fallen angel. From his knowledge, it was only possible if Anima was a fallen angel, or if she had been unfaithful to him. He knew if she had been unfaithful to him that he would know. He closed his eyes and thought back to his conversations with King Nephlite. "That's my eldest son," Nephlite told him with a sigh. "Sarian doesn't want the throne, and told me to name Anima as my heir. He's travelling at the moment." He looked at him with sad eyes. "Normally, I wouldn't do anything related to Anima without conferring with him first. He and Anima used to be incredibly close." He paused and looked out the window. "I wonder." He raised his hand gently to call Veritas to him. "You called, Master?" she asked, landing gently onto his wrist. She glanced at the bassinet. "They're sleeping peacefully, unusual for hatchlings of your species." Styx gave her a poke for her comment and smiled at her. "I need you to find a certain person for me." Carefully he explained the Lunarian throne room and the painting of Nephlite, Anima, and her brother. "I need you to find Sarian for me. When you find him, give him this." She placed a chain around her neck. 4 amulets hung from the chain. A wolf head, to symbolize the Iron Wolves. A crescent moon, for Lunarius. A dove in flight, symbolizing himself. And a sword with a corked vial, to represent Anima. Hopefully that will bring him here. Hopefully that will bring him here, Veritas chirped at him, before flying off into the distance. Anima awoke to the sound of crying. "Rosiel? Manuel?" Her voice barely made it out of her throat. Sitting up, she looked around the room until it spun. "What's going on?" A cold hand gently stroked her face. "Rest. You lost a lot of blood giving birth to the twins. Rest now." Anima's eyes slowly focused onto Styx's calm and concerned face. "It's all right. I've asked Gabriel and Haruna to assist me in looking after the twins." Styx watched her close her eyes once more. I do have a question for you." Anima relaxed and whispered, "Go ahead, although what I know is the same as what you know. I don't see what asking me will do." Styx sighed. "I know, but sometimes asking you brings the information I need to the surface much faster." Silence passed for a while before he continued. "When you last saw your brother, did he say where he was going?" Anima opened her eyes and narrowed them at him. "If it's about the fallen angel thing, Sarian will have no clue about it. I asked him once before when I found out about the bruise on my back and what it symbolized." She turned her head until he was in her direct line of vision. "I'm surprised you're only asking about my brother now." The silence between them stretched. Anima closed her eyes again and smiled. "Tell Veritas to go to the mountain ranges in Ukrainia. Urantia. Deep in those ranges is the ancient library that Rosiel built. That place is the best to start at if she's going to search for him." Several months had passed before Anima was well enough to function properly. All the Iron Wolves could tell that her thoughts were always elsewhere. Styx had left to supervise the expansion of the barrier to encompass Lunarius, leaving Anima with their twins and the entire Iron Wolf Guild to run. She leapt lightly down the stairs, her eyes intent for once at her destination. "He's here! He's here!" It wasn't the first time she wished she had wings to get her to her destination faster. Bursting through the doors into the knight's quarters on the ground floor, she ran into something solid. Anima! Lena exclaimed as Kuros leaned over to offer his hand to her. Where are you going? Anima frowned at this statement. Lena stepped back and saluted stiffly. There's an unknown at the door. We can't let you pass until it is safe. I can assure you it's perfectly safe, Anima replied, accepting Kuros's hand. She continued with roughly brushing dust off her white silk robes. Sarian wouldn't hurt anyone. She paused for a second before continuing. He's a protector, not a fighter. Lena and Kuros looked at each other worriedly. Sarian? Kuros asked quietly, and leaned over once more to bring himself to eye level with Anima. Anyone who can verify him? Anima's clear eyes told him exactly what she was thinking. I have to ask for your safety. Anima didn't answer him. Feeling around her waist, she opened her pouch and brought out a clear liquid. Smiling, she shook the vial. You aren't going to let me pass, are you? Lena barred the east wing exit with her spear in response. Then I have no choice. Quickly, she uncorked the vial and drinking the contents. Anima waved and disappeared from view. You can ask Rue to verify him if you can find Rue before I get to the door. Anima laughed and ran deeper into the knight's quarters. Her chameleon potion aided her to dart through unnoticed. Sarian came here instead of Lunarius. She skidded to a halt just before the west wing exit. Why did he come here instead of Lunarius? He doesn't know I married Styx. Quietly she slipped out the door and padded down to the huge double doors to slip around the knight standing there. The man talking to the knights wore light-weight russet pants with dark leather boots. His long-sleeved jacket was buttoned down the front to his waist, leaving the knee-length remainder to flap gently in the breeze. At his waist sat a pair of swords. One was a rapier that was identical to Anima's, and the other was a broader and stronger claymore. His auburn hair, long and sun-streaked, shaded his deep blue eyes. He turned, looking directly at her with a welcoming smile on his face. I can see you, he said softly. The knights looked at her in her direction before looking at each other curiously. When does the chameleon potion you swallowed wear off? Soon, Anima replied, her seemingly disembodied voice scaring the knights. Why are you here? Your obvious assumption should be that I'm in Lunarius. Her suspicious tone in her voice wrapped around the knights, forcing them to attention. Because I can tell where you are, sister dearest. Anima stepped back. This wasn't the Sarian she remembered. His manner in speaking to her wasn't the warm affection she remembered. Sarian strode towards her and scooped her up, pinning her arms to her sides. His voice whispered in recognizable tones in her ear. Your brother wishes to see you. Oslo, Anima hissed angrily, using a mask potion to fill my eyes. The effect of both potions began to fade. The reappearance of Anima and the shifting of Sarian to Oslo gave the knights barely seconds to raise the alarm. Thank your brother for teaching me, Oslo said, maneuvering her until she was pressed with her back to him. Drawing a dagger with a blood-red ruby in the hilt from a sheath that was tucked under his jacket, he pressed it to her neck. Let Styx know this message, he told the knights before them. He should return to the elven realm and be destroyed as his fate dictated, or he won't see Anima again in any incarnation. Pressing his dagger harder to her throat, he whispered, You have one, don't you? A smoke bomb that allows you to escape danger? I know Stykes would insist on you carrying one, even in the Iron Wolf's headquarters. Anima winced and nodded slowly. Use it, or I'll slit your throat right here. Anima opened her eyes and looked apologetically at the knights before slipping 2 fingers into her pouch. A dark grey potion fell to the floor immediately began to produce plumes of dark smoke. Smoke rose upwards, surrounding Oslo and Anima before spreading out to encompass the entrance and the entire courtyard. After him! She heard Kuros yell through the darkness, but she knew they couldn't catch up now, with the smoke obscuring everything. Don't let him leave the grounds alive! Stykes dropped his pen. Pain spread across his neck and chest. What in the world? Rapid knocking at the door focused his attention. Come in, he called. You sound strained. Kite stepped into the door with a ball of white light hovering over her palm. I have an urgent message from the Iron Wolf's headquarters. I was told to let no one read it but you, so I brought it straight here. Stykes reached out for the scroll and froze. A white scroll. He carefully took the scroll and unrolled it to its full length. White scrolls usually contain bad news in disguise. Quickly he skimmed the scroll before standing up. Follow me, he said calmly to Kite as he passed. What? She began to ask before realizing he was leading her to the Lunarian barracks. Something's happened to Anima? Her voice sounded more concerned rather than worried. Oslo has captured her. Stykes' voice was intense with suppressed rage. According to the scroll, he disguised himself as Sarian and came to the headquarters asking for Anima. Anima, being what she's like, came out to meet him. Apparently, when she became suspicious of him, is when he caught her. And you're going to take the entire Lunarian defense to Kulatish to get her back? She asked incredulously. While I want to charge in and rescue her too, you can't leave Lunarius open for attack. That's not what I have in mind. He paused to turn and face her. I'm leaving you in charge here, but I'm going to take Ru, Miyako, and Chie with me. I see. She raised her hand to her chest and bowed. As you wish, my lord. I'm yours to command. Stykes nodded and continued towards the barracks. Anima! Rough hands shook her. Chains chinked in her ears. Anima, wake up before I give you a spanking you won't forget. Slowly she opened her eyes. Sarian? She murmured quietly. She looked at the man holding her. His auburn hair and pale white skin were stained with dirt. His clothes were torn and looked like they had not been washed for a long time. The real one? Who else would I be? Sarian hugged her tightly. You silly girl. Were you that anxious to see me? Anima's eyes scanned the cell they were in. Chains that trailed from his wrists and ankles. But I am happy to see you. How long have you been here? She asked, pulling away a little to look at his face. What have they done to you? Bruises encircled his right eye and dotted along his cheeks and jawline. Before I tell you, He gazed into her eyes curiously. "How much do you remember before the time we met?" Anima tilted her head, not comprehending what he was saying. "Then you need to remember, for I can tell you what is going on here." "I'll have to know eventually, won't I?" Anima asked, a little annoyed at Sarian for dragging this out. "I'm in my 20s now. I think I'm adult enough to handle it." "You're not human." Anima's face paled at this small statement. "Father and I found you when you were quite young, on the slopes of Wolf Mountain. A woman, clearly not human, laid at your side covered in blood. We could see she was dying. We told her that we would look after you. She created the bracelets with our blood and locked them onto our wrists as a bind between us. To seal the deal, she said. So you are my sister, in a sense, that we share the same mixed blood, but we weren't born from the same parents." "But..." The clouds in Anima's mind cleared. False memories of Sarian's mother gave way to true memories of a woman with pale blue hair and the deepest sky blue eyes. "So I'm a demon?" Her mind told her that wasn't quite right. "A fallen angel, to be precise," Sarian corrected her. "Those who are the true royal family of demons aren't demons themselves. Your family, from what I've gleaned from the guards, was driven from the demonic realm by Oslo and his followers. You and your mother are the last of that line." "The reason you left..." Anima's mind raced at the memories that now flooded her. "The reason you left was to find out why you and your mother were able to get here when the bull demon guards the path between this realm and the demonic realm," Sarian confirmed. "If the bull demon no longer guards the path, demons can come to destroy not only the human realm, but every realm connected to the demonic realm." "Then the creature that's destroyed the elven realm," Anima said suddenly. Everything began to fall into place. "Was a demon who left the demonic realm." She focused her eyes back on him. "Oslo is trying to finish the job he started." Sarian nodded and sighed. "His aim this time is to kill you and anyone else who knows about you. So that means myself and Father." Anima's eyes became downcast. Sarian tilted his head worriedly. Anima? Anima? "Father." She lowered her head. Tears fell onto her hands rapidly. "The Angelic Guild attacked Lunarius, and I met their guildmaster, Time. He made me remember something from my past, but it was too brief for me to understand what it was, or where it came from. Time murdered Father." Sarian's eyes watered. He drew Anima to his chest and gently pet her hair. "I'm sorry," he whispered repeatedly in her ear. "I found out that Angelic and Oslo were in league with each other when I was caught. I couldn't do anything to send word to Father. It's not your fault," Anima whispered back. "But I'm happy to finally know you're all right." And that's it for this chapter. I'm a little iffy on that voice for Sarian, and if you've been listening to a lot of my recordings, a lot of my voices will chop and change, and yeah, so it just depends on the moment. But yeah, I'm not sure if a gravelly type voice for Sarian is what I'm going for. Because Sarian is human, but he's... The voices that I envisioned in my head are voices that I can't do, personally. So, like, I envisioned Styx' voice to be a bit more airy and light, but still masculine, because he's an elf. Whereas Anima's should be a mix of, like, lower tones, as well as more of a normal tone, to sound more, because she's supposed to be fallen angel, but she doesn't know she's fallen angel until now. So she's supposed to be like mimicking human speech. It's a little, yeah. But yeah, I will. Either way, focus on the words, not the way they're said. But yeah, as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what stories you want me to continue. Because I haven't worked out which fanfiction I'm going to continue. Yeah. I'm working on Magic of Moonlight. Slowly. But I will probably chop and change between this one and Magic of Moonlight. Like, writing-wise. But I haven't worked out fanfiction. I am thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fanfiction, the two main ones that I was writing, Angelic Intentions and Dreams of the Undead, because both have little bits and pieces already written from other chapters and other sections. But yeah, I'll work something out. I'm just in crafting mode at the moment, so... Anyway, I will see you in the next one. Let your imagination run wild. Bye for now.